There's a moment that happens every day, usually when you least expect it. You're walking past a coffee shop, and you notice how the steam rises from someone's cup in perfect spirals. While others hurry past without a glance, you find yourself wondering about that person's story. What brought them to this exact moment? What they're thinking about as they stare out the window? Or maybe you're in a conversation, and someone makes an offhand comment that sends your mind racing through 10 different interpretations, analyzing not just what they said, but how they said it, what they didn't say, and what it all might mean about who they really are. If this sounds familiar, you're not alone. You're part of a quiet community of people who experience the world differently, people who think too deeply. And while the world often celebrates quick decisions and surface-level interactions, you find yourself swimming in depths that others don't even know exist. Deep thinkers are the ones who pause before responding, not because they don't have anything to say, but because they're considering every possible angle. They're the people who can turn a simple text message into a philosophical puzzle, wondering if the lack of an exclamation point means something significant. They notice the way shadows fall across a room and think about time, change, and the fleeting nature of everything beautiful. But here's what most people don't understand about thinking deeply. It's not just about being smart or analytical. It's about feeling everything more intensely, seeing connections where others see randomness, and carrying the weight of awareness in a world that often prefers the comfort of simplicity. When you think too deeply, ordinary moments become complex emotional landscapes. You watch a movie and don't just enjoy the story. You analyze the symbolism, the character motivations, the way certain scenes reflect universal human truths. You have a conversation with a friend and later replay every word, wondering what they really meant when they said they were fine, noticing the slight change in their voice that others missed entirely. This kind of mental processing is exhausting in ways that are hard to explain. While others can compartmentalize their thoughts, deep thinkers often find their minds working overtime, constantly connecting dots, seeking patterns, searching for meaning in the mundane. It's like having a radio that never turns off, always tuned to multiple stations at once. The psychology behind deep thinking is more complex than most people realize. For many, it develops as a survival mechanism. Perhaps you learned early that paying attention to subtle cues kept you safe, that understanding people's emotions and motivations helped you navigate difficult relationships or unpredictable environments. Your brain became hypervigilant, constantly scanning for information that others might overlook. This heightened awareness often stems from emotional intelligence that developed out of necessity. You learned to read between the lines because the lines themselves weren't always trustworthy. You became fluent in the language of subtext, skilled at detecting what people really meant beneath their polite words. But deep thinking isn't always born from difficult circumstances. Sometimes it's simply how certain minds are wired. Some brains are naturally drawn to complexity, to questions that don't have easy answers, to the spaces between certainty where mystery lives. These minds find shallow conversations suffocating and surface-level interactions draining because they crave depth the way others crave air. Deep thinkers often struggle with what psychologists call analysis paralysis. When you can see multiple perspectives on every situation, making decisions becomes overwhelming. You understand that every choice has consequences, that every action ripples outward in ways that others don't consider. This awareness is both a gift and a burden, providing wisdom while sometimes preventing action. The constant mental activity that comes with deep thinking can lead to a unique form of loneliness. You might be surrounded by people, but feel completely alone because no one else seems to notice what you notice, think about what you think about, or care about the things that keep you awake at night. You find yourself nodding along in conversations while your mind wanders to places the discussion could go, but never does. This isolation isn't intentional. Deep thinkers often desperately want connection, but they struggle to find people who want to dive beneath the surface with them. Small talk feels like torture. when your mind is naturally drawn to life's bigger questions. You want to discuss why certain songs make people cry, how childhood experiences shape adult relationships, or what it means that we're all just floating on a rock in space, trying to make sense of our brief existence. Yet there's profound beauty in thinking deeply. You notice things others miss entirely, the way morning light transforms an ordinary room into something magical, the subtle shift in someone's expression that reveals their true feelings, the patterns in nature that mirror patterns in human behavior. You collect these observations like treasures, building an inner world rich with meaning and connection. Deep thinkers often have an intense relationship with memory. You don't just remember events, you remember how they felt, what they symbolized, how they connected to larger themes in your life. A simple song can transport you back to not just a moment in time, but to the entire emotional ecosystem that surrounded that moment. This makes you incredibly empathetic, able to understand others' experiences because you carry your own so vividly. The challenge comes in learning when to engage this depth and when to let it rest. Deep thinkers often exhaust themselves trying to understand everything, to find meaning in every interaction, to solve puzzles that were never meant to be solved. They replay conversations endlessly, not out of insecurity necessarily, but out of a genuine desire to understand the full picture. This mental intensity can manifest in unexpected ways. You might find yourself crying at commercials because you see the deeper human truths they're touching on. You might feel overwhelmed in crowds because you're unconsciously processing everyone's energy and emotions. You might need solitude, not because you dislike people, but because you need space to process all the information your mind has gathered throughout the day. The world often misunderstands deep thinkers, labeling them as overthinkers, pessimists, or people who complicate simple things. But the truth is more nuanced. Deep thinkers don't choose to complicate things. They simply see complexity that was already there. They don't overthink by choice. Their minds naturally explore every angle because that's how they make sense of the world. This way of thinking comes with both gifts and challenges that are impossible to separate. The same mind that can find profound meaning in a stranger's smile can also spiral into existential anxiety about the nature of existence. The same awareness that allows you to truly see and understand others can also make you feel like an outsider looking in on a world that operates on a different frequency. Understanding this about yourself isn't about changing who you are. It's about accepting the fullness of your experience. Your depth isn't a flaw to fix or a burden to bear alone. It's a different way of being human, complete with its own struggles and its own profound gifts. Deep thinkers often find themselves living in multiple timelines simultaneously. While their body exists in the present moment, their mind travels backward through memories and forward through possibilities. They replay that conversation from 3 days ago, wondering if their response revealed too much or too little. They imagine how different their life might be if they had made one small decision differently 5 years ago. This mental time travel isn't voluntary. It's simply how their consciousness operates. The exhaustion that comes with this kind of mental processing is unlike ordinary tiredness. It's the fatigue of a mind that never stops working, always analyzing, always searching for deeper meaning. By the end of the day, deep thinkers often feel drained, not from physical activity, but from the sheer weight of thinking. They've processed not just their own experiences, but absorbed emotional data from everyone around them, noticed patterns in conversations that others missed entirely, and questioned assumptions that most people accept without thought. This mental intensity often creates a strange relationship with decision-making. While others might choose quickly based on instinct or preference, deep thinkers see every decision as a complex web of consequences. Choosing what to eat for lunch becomes a meditation on health, ethics, environmental impact, and personal values. Deciding whether to attend a social gathering involves analyzing the energy they have available, the quality of connections they might make, and whether the experience will feed their soul or drain it further. The paradox of deep thinking is that it can simultaneously connect you to everything and isolate you from everyone. You feel deeply connected to the universe, to humanity's shared experiences, to the profound beauty and tragedy of existence. Yet you often feel completely alone because few people seem to share this level of awareness or interest in exploring life's deeper currents. This isolation becomes particularly acute in social situations. While others engage in comfortable small talk about weather or weekend plans, deep thinkers find themselves yearning for conversations about purpose, meaning, growth, and the mysteries of human existence. They might smile and participate in surface-level discussions, but inside, they feel like they're speaking a different language, one that few others seem to understand. The emotional world of deep thinkers is particularly rich and complex. They don't just feel happy or sad, they experience entire emotional symphonies. Joy comes mixed with melancholy because they understand how fleeting beautiful moments are. Love carries undertones of fear because they see how easily connections can break. Even simple pleasures become complicated because their minds automatically explore the deeper implications of everything they experience. This emotional complexity often makes deep thinkers highly empathetic, but also emotionally vulnerable. They can sense when someone is struggling, even when that person is trying to hide it. They pick up on subtle shifts in tone, micro-expressions, and energy changes that reveal the truth beneath polite facades. While this makes them excellent friends and confidants, it also means they absorb pain that isn't even their own. Many deep thinkers develop what could be called emotional boundaries later in life, learning to protect themselves from the constant influx of feelings and energy from others. This isn't selfishness, it's survival. Without these boundaries, they risk becoming overwhelmed by the emotional needs and pain of everyone around them. The relationship between deep thinking and creativity is profound and often misunderstood. These minds don't create art, music, or writing simply for self-expression. They create because they see connections and patterns that demand to be shared, because they experience beauty so intensely that it must be translated into something others can touch. Their creativity often carries the weight of their entire inner world, making their artistic expressions particularly moving and authentic. Yet creativity can also become another source of pressure for deep thinkers. They often hold themselves to impossibly high standards because they can envision exactly what they want to create. The gap between their vision and their current ability can be devastating. They see the masterpiece in their mind, but struggle to translate it into reality, leading to cycles of inspiration followed by frustration. Sleep often becomes elusive for people who think too deeply. Their minds don't easily shift into rest mode because there's always one more thought to explore, one more connection to make, one more question to ponder. They might lie awake replaying conversations, imagining different outcomes, or getting lost in philosophical questions that have no clear answers. The boundary between conscious and unconscious thought becomes blurred, making true mental rest difficult to achieve. This sleep disruption isn't usually about anxiety, in the traditional sense. It's about minds that are naturally active, curious, and engaged with life's complexities. They don't worry themselves awake. They think themselves awake, exploring ideas and connections that fascinate them, even as their bodies crave rest. The modern world presents unique challenges for deep thinkers. Social media and constant connectivity can feel overwhelming because every post, every image, every status update gets processed through their analytical filter. They see the pain behind happy photos, notice the insecurity in bragging posts, and feel exhausted by the performative nature of online life. What others scroll through mindlessly, deep thinkers absorb and analyze, making digital spaces emotionally draining rather than entertaining. Professional environments can be particularly challenging. While the business world often rewards quick thinking and decisive action, deep thinkers need time to process information thoroughly. They perform best when given space to consider all angles, but they're often pressured to make snap judgments or participate in brainstorming sessions that feel chaotic and superficial. The gift within this challenge is that when deep thinkers do contribute, their insights are often remarkably valuable. They see solutions others miss, identify potential problems before they become crises, and bring perspectives that can transform entire projects. Their thorough approach to thinking, while sometimes slower, often leads to more sustainable and thoughtful outcomes. Perhaps most importantly, deep thinkers must learn to honor their own rhythm and needs. This means accepting that they process information differently, that they need solitude to recharge, and that their way of moving through the world has inherent value, even when others don't understand it. It means recognizing that their depth isn't a character flaw, but a different way of being human, one that brings essential perspectives to a world that often moves too fast to notice its own complexity. The journey towards self-acceptance for deep thinkers often involves learning to see their sensitivity as strength rather than weakness, their questioning nature as wisdom rather than doubt, and their need for meaningful connection as healthy rather than demanding. When they embrace these aspects of themselves, they often discover that their depth becomes a source of resilience rather than vulnerability, allowing them to navigate life with authenticity and purpose that shallow thinking simply cannot provide. If you recognize yourself in these words, know that you're not broken or flawed. You're simply wired to experience life in full color, while others see in black and white. Your depth is both your burden and your gift, your challenge and your strength. The world needs minds like yours to notice what others overlook, to ask the questions that matter, and to remind us all that beneath the surface of everything lies infinite complexity worth exploring.